Well, hello and welcome to another Organize Your Life series. I'm excited because we are talking about a topic that actually gets me excited, and it's talking about the clutter. But this specifically is inherited clutter. We all have it. I mean, I have it, and probably watching now, you have it as well. So today we have Kate Evans. I can't wait to start the conversation with Kate, but before I do, I just want to give you a little bit about her background. Kate Evans is the owner of Soulful Space, a life coaching service specializing in integrative life coaching and virtual declutter coaching. Kate helps overwhelmed women declutter their lives and homes. She has worked in the field of psychology since 2004, and in addition to being a life coach and decluttering expert, she is a certified yoga teacher and a writer currently working on a book bringing self help and decluttering together for lasting change. Hello, Kate, and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So, my first question to you before we get into inherited clutter, what actually is clutter?
Well, that's a huge it's a huge question, especially when you're talking to a psychologist. Um, so to me, clutter is it's all the stuff that you have that holds you back, that you don't use anymore, you don't love, you don't that no longer serves a purpose. And the way I see it, that's mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. It can be any of those sorts of things. And so when we get to talking about inherited clutter, we're going to be talking about the physical, really. So the items around, the physical items around your home that just they don't serve a purpose. They get in the way. They're stopping the flow of energy and just making it so life just doesn't move forward.
And I was so excited when I saw your blog on inherited clutter because it's just like, of course, the light bulbs went off, and I started thinking about so many people, and even myself included. We inherited things from other people, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's not useful, and those things that are not useful, we don't have a tendency to moving out of our home. So, what exactly is the inherited clutter?
So the inherited clutter is what it is. It's the stuff that when somebody you love passes on, you end up with their things. Now that can be you end up with a vase, you know, a an item. It can mean you have an entire house. Say your parents have both passed, and you now have an entire house full of stuff, and you've got to figure out what to do with that. And there's a lot of sentimentality that goes into things that we inherit from people. And a lot of guilt goes into them, and the idea that, if you don't want them, then you feel badly about it. And so inherited clutter is all of that stuff that kind of lands in your lap when someone passes away. And then you got to figure out, does it have a place in your life or not?
So, how do we, I guess, manage or clear out the inherited clutter? Because as you were talking, I was thinking sometimes it's not even, like you said, in our house, it could be just a vase, but then it could be an entire house. But then also, I was thinking because so many people have storage units,
Oh,
it
God.
could be that stuff as well. So, how do we, kind of clear our lives of the inherited clutter?
Well, it's the mental emotional stuff has to be addressed first. There's yes, you can have an estate sale if you've got an entire house full of stuff, or if you can have a storage locker sale too. I mean, they even have those if you've got a storage locker filled with stuff. Um, but it's the we hold on to these things sometimes because we think we're holding on to the person who's gone, but that person is not that item. They're not those things. I knew two sisters who they'd lost their dad years previous, and then their mom passed away. And one of the sisters had spent time with their mother while she was ill and prior to her passing. The other sister had refused to go visit the mother, just couldn't deal with it, couldn't face this and actually did not see her mother before she passed. A year later, they had to make all the final decisions about all of her things. The sister who had made peace with her relationship with her mom picked out a couple of items, and that was all she needed to remember her mother by. She didn't need anything else. The sister who had not made peace with her relationship with her mother wanted to keep everything. It's a very stark kind of example of how this stuff is about relationships. It's not just stuff.
And it's interesting you said that because when we were talking about the sisters and how they made peace, it's interesting because when my mother passed, people were kind of surprised how I was able to let go of some things.
Sure.
And not all things were easy, but
Mhm.
because, we were different sizes in regards to clothes, it was easy for me to let go of her clothes.
Sure.
There was this one sweater that she wore every single day leading up to when she passed away. I held on to it for a little bit, but then I
Yeah.
was able to let it go.
Mhm.
But then also in my mind, I started talking to myself saying, okay, there were big pieces that I wanted. Like she traveled a lot. So I wanted a traveling trunk. I loved her bedroom. So I got rid of my bedroom. But like you said, when you do make peace, it's kind of easier to let go of things. And like you said, and I have a friend who I think after she did her mother and her mother-in-law's house, I think she had like 8 to 10 sets of dishes. And I said, and I told her, and she said, I don't know what to do. And like, again, they like to kind of sometimes hold on to those things because they want to have the estate sale. And I says, well, my first suggestion to you is that you allow your daughter to kind of go through because she's in her mid 20s now to see what she wants so she can have something of either grandmother. And she said, yeah, we already did that. She says, but there's still all this other stuff that I just want to hold on to. So it's just interesting how you really, if once we make peace in our mind with the person or persons, depending on how many people, then it's easier for us to let go.
Let's say the sweater of your mother's that symbolized something for you. And so that was why you held on to it for the time that you did. And then you healed in whatever way was necessary to say, I don't need this symbol any longer. And you get situations where you have the opportunity to address some of these things with somebody before they pass. And then you have the situations where you don't get to address any of this with somebody before they pass. And maybe it's because no one wants to talk about death. And maybe it's because the death is a surprise, unexpected. My own parents, now my parents are divorced, so I've got two households I'm going to have to deal with. But I've had conversations with both of them about what is going to happen with their things. I have the phone numbers of the people to call who will want certain things of my dad's. They're both artists. Who's going to want, my dad's pots? Who's going to want the bonsai trees that he grows? My mother's an artist. And we've already agreed that like all of her friends in the community will be allowed to come into the house and pick any of her artwork that they want. So, that's the sort of conversation that's really great. If you can't have that conversation, it sometimes is a bit trickier.
And I agree. And it's interesting you say that because when I started working on my own estate plan, that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that was asked. Like, Janet, do you want certain people to have certain things?
Yeah.
And the example that, the attorney gave was that, someone said, I want so and so to have the lamp. And they were excited. But when they went into the house, the person had like 15 lamps. So she had no clue as to what lamp. So, I have specifically, I want this person to have this and this person. And that's
Mm-hmm.
good because then it makes it easier for all the other stuff. It's like if they want it, fine. If they don't, you are allowed to donate it, etc. So I think that's good too, because again, with the inherited clutter, people already have things in their home. But then when you have the inherited clutter of a whole house, an item or storage, it just makes it so much overwhelming for somebody to have to deal with.
It is. And you hope that there are decent relationships between those who are left behind too, because there can be a lot of hurt feelings and arguments that happen around the items that are left and who's going to get what and keep what. I've seen a lot of really difficult things happen.
Yeah.
It, in the end, there's also a piece that's about forgiveness. It's forgiving the person who is gone for being gone. And that oftentimes allows you to let go of the items that symbolize that person. Forgiving yourself for maybe not having been there when they passed or not having spent as much time as you wish you had before they were gone. And when you clear that up, you no longer have the need to hang on to feelings or things.
And you're so right. It's about really just like really looking at our emotions. But
Mm-hmm.
the best way is for all of you watching is to really kind of just do a little pre-planning. I know
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you think of estate plans, wills, living wills, you just like your head spins. But even if you just get a piece of paper out and just start like, oh, I want somebody to have that. I want somebody to have that. And then when, you do sit down with an attorney or a legal professional, you already have it already sorted out, and it'll make it so much easier for those who, you love and you care about behind. So, Kate, I've enjoyed this conversation. Like I told you, when I first emailed you, I was like, Kate, we got to talk about inherited clutter because everybody is dealing with it. And like you said, it's a matter of us really focusing on what we want to leave behind, but also, really kind of just mending those relationships so it's easier for us to let go when somebody does leave us an entire house
Mm-hmm.
or a storage unit as well. But how can people connect with you and work with you?
You could go to my website, which is soulfulspacecoaching.com, or you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at soulfulspace.coaching. Or you could just email me directly at kate@soulfulspacecoaching.com. So lots of soulful space in there.
And of course, those of you watching, all the information will be listed in the description below how you can connect directly with Kate. Kate, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really lovely chatting with you anytime I can.
And of course, everybody, continue to have a clutter free day. Take care.